class. Today we are going to talk about vents and how to set them up initially in the pre-hospital setting. Major disclaimer, I am not an RT. I am a critical care transport nurse. So if your patient's lungs aren't working and in the pre-hospital setting, it's usually because we've RSI'd them using a sedative and a paralytic. So now we have to breathe for them. Now we have to get the oxygen into their lungs, make it go round and round. Okay, you've got your patient.
I'm not
They're not
breathing.
You need to breathe for them. And in order to do this, I use the Zoll. There are multiple modes that you can use on this ventilator, but I'm just going to talk about the one that we use most commonly, which is assist control volume. Assist volume control is we tell the lungs how much milliliters of air they're going to get per breath.
How do we know how much to give
well,
them?
we can't use their kilograms because no matter what your weight is, your lungs are unaffected by weight. You could be 50 kilograms or 100 kilograms. Your lungs are still going to be the same size. So we have to base their calculation off of their height. So here's the handy dandy little formula that we use to determine ideal body weight.
So a 5'10"
Inches over 60 times 2.3 plus 45 for female and 50 for male
equals your ideal body weight.
73 kilograms, ideal body weight. So now what? Now we need to determine how many milliliters of air we have to give for each breath. That's the tidal volume. Can an RT out there smarter than me explain why tidal volume is VT? I hate it. My OCD won't let me. Anyways, I digress. So the average human being without disease processes that I'll talk about in a later video require between 6 and 8 milliliters per kilogram of air per breath. Fun, another calculation.
So you take your ideal body weight of 73 and you times it by the low end of 6, and then you times it by the high end of 8, and you get how many milliliters per kilogram of air per breath.
I usually pick something in the middle and then titrate up or down as needed depending on how the patient is tolerating those settings. Next up, respiratory rate. How many breaths per minute does my dude need?
Take their ideal body weight, tack on 2 zeros, and then divide by their tidal volume, 14.
Now let's talk about PEEP. Positive end expiratory pressure. So how many atmospheres of pressure are required to keep the alveoli open? I'm sitting here sweating my butt off in Vegas, so I'm about 2,000 feet above sea level, so I require 5 atmospheres of pressure to keep my alveoli open. Fun fact.
Just think of it like a balloon. Blow it up until you meet resistance, and that's 5 of PEEP. Blow it up past the resistance, and now you're increasing your PEEP.
Just gives you more real estate of the alveoli to exchange carbon dioxide and oxygen. Let's move on to the FiO2, a fraction of inspired oxygen. So if you set the vent for 50% FiO2, you're essentially giving half room air, half pure oxygen. In the hospital, they monitor ABGs, so it can tell the respiratory therapist, do they need to turn up or down the FiO2? Here in the pre-hospital setting though, we've normally RSI'd a patient or they're post-ROSC, and hell, I just crank that shit right up to 100%. And then just quickly get them to the RT, who's a lot smarter than me. So the IE ratio is the amount of time that you give them for inspiration and expiration. I normally set it to about 1 to 2 unless they have a disease process where they're air trapping, and then I tend to give them a longer expiratory rate. So like maybe 1 to 4. This is the very, very basic way to set up a vent. Join me on my next video where we answer the question, but how is my dude liking this? And what to do if he doesn't. And we'll talk about that in the next video. Yay, vents! I actually love vents.